Okay, good news. Maybe you've saved some money and you're thinking, should I pay down some of my debts first, maybe student loans or credit card debt? Should I pay that down first and accelerate that? Or should I take that money and invest it? Invest in maybe in stocks, crypto, whatever. What should I do? Pay off debt faster or invest it? And we're going to answer that question today, coming up on Investing Education with me, Mr. B. Welcome to the channel where we help you to learn fast so you can become a successful and confident investor. If that sounds interesting to you, go on ahead and hit that subscribe button. All right, so what do? Do you pay off your debts first and accelerate that if you've got some extra money coming in? Or do you and take that money and invest it in the stock market? So it's a good question. Both are good things to do, by the way. Either way, there's no wrong answer. I mean, it's not like you're going to go out and buy a brand new car or something. You're trying to manage your finances in a better way. So hats off to you if you're in that position. But which one should you do first? So let's look at it from a math perspective. That should give us the answer. I like math. It gives us hard, cold facts and numbers. And then we're going to look at it from a behavioral standpoint that I think might actually help you even more in the long run. So if we look at it from a strict math perspective, if an interest rate that you're paying on your debt is greater than 10%, then you should concentrate and focus on that debt. Now, why 10%? Well, basically, that's the historical rate of return of the stock market. Now, we know sometimes the market's well above 10% and sometimes well below 10%, even losing money. So the stock market's more of a longer-term endeavor, of course. But if you're able to get over this debt is, let's say, longer-term debt, over 10% is what you're paying on that debt, you'd be better off just saving that money by reducing your interest, your overall long-term interest payment, and getting that almost kind of guaranteed 10% return by reducing your debt. Also, if you look at it, like let's say if instead of putting in the stock market, you're going to put in something like bonds that might historically be around 6%, or certainly cash, which right now is right around 1% or less. You might be better off if you're saying, well, I'm going to put my money into a savings account paying me 1%. You probably are going to be better off putting it in paying off your debt before that. So you have to look at the debt interest rate and see what your expected return or potential return might be through your investment. So that's what the hard cold math numbers would say. Now, from a behavioral standpoint, and something I guess I would recommend actually, is to do both. Do a little bit of both. And here's why. Some folks would say, and they're not wrong, especially from a mathematical standpoint, well, just pay your debt down, then you can invest, right? But the challenge with that is your debt might take a long time to pay off, and you might not get in the habit of, if you haven't already, you might not get in the habit of saving, investing, setting up automatic investing type things like through your payroll deductions through work or something like that. And so if you're not in the habit of doing investing, or you're not learning about investing by doing, sure, watch YouTube videos, take my courses, that's all great, but you'll learn even more by doing that. If you're not doing that, even a small amount of that, you're not learning as you go. And I can tell you, based on my own history, I've learned so much over time. That's why I'm able to share it. But I'm almost shocked at some of the mistakes I made early on. I have a whole video about my top 5 video mistakes. Check out the homepage for that. But it's like, gosh, if only I knew then. But I would have known it, early, when maybe I could afford a little bit more losses because I had a smaller amount of money in, than like now where I'm financially independent and I have a large amount of money. So you need to have that learning. You need to get through that learning curve. So even though the math might say, hey, you got high debt, high expensive debt, pay that off. That makes sense. Go ahead and pay that off. But put a little bit at least into investing, into the stock market, into whatever your investment vehicles are. And particularly stock market, for example, or cryptocurrency, things like that. Things that are going to give you a better return than your debt would be doing. Again, if it's a cash account, you're just going to throw in a cash account at 1% interest. That's not even going to keep up with inflation. And if your debt's higher than 1%, probably is your interest rate, then pay your debt, right? But otherwise, getting comfortable investing in different things can be very, very beneficial for you from a behavioral standpoint. It doesn't necessarily make sense from a math standpoint. Math is math. But where it makes sense is from a psychological standpoint, a behavioral standpoint, developing these habits, an educational standpoint from you. And by the way, that money is going to keep growing too. And if the market's above, well above your interest rate on your debt, you're doing better anyways. So that's a good thing. So that would be my, thoughts or opinion around, well, what should you pay off first? Use the math as a guide, but also have a little bit towards investing. That's and do both, so to speak, would be kind of the best answer. And then with that, Then you can decide how much. I'm going to take my excess savings and put 90% to debt, 30% to debt. You can decide how much that is. You don't have to go all in. But if there's something that you're very committed to and behaviorally or in your mind, you're like, no, I just got to really get rid of that debt. That debt's really hanging over me and I really want to focus on that. That's okay if you can stay focused on that and get it done. Again, I'd still say put a little bit in. One other last quick caution about debt, particularly credit card debt, is, and I know people, I have family members, who have incurred a lot of credit card debt with exponentially super high, just usury type interest rates. They're just terrible. That's I like using credit cards for the convenience, but their interest rates, and I always pay off my cards in full every month, have for pretty much forever. But if you're not in that situation, it's okay. It's just those interest rates are real killers. And where I've seen happen, that's a real thing to be aware of and be concerned about, is where they put all their focus on paying down their debt, maybe in refinance their home to pay off the credit card debt, and then they run that debt back up again. That gets back into behavior. Maybe that's happened to you. So it's okay. I'm just saying then, particularly in that situation where you're not sure about that, that may give you more incentive to pay off some of that debt and pay the principal, pay the interest, stay current with your payments, maybe a little bit more if you want, but maybe that's another advantage to put it in investing because that'll keep growing. You don't have to worry about that. We want your investments to grow. You don't want your debt to grow. All right, so with that, some things to think about. Use what works for you. Remember, you are the individual, so think about what works best for you, not only from a math standpoint, but from a behavior and habit standpoint as well. With that, check out the channel, check out the homepage for more videos. Do hit that subscribe button, and I do hope to see you in a future video. With that, best of luck, and no matter what, whether you're paying down debt or investing in things like the stock market, both of those are good things to do with your excess cash, with your savings.